Food and Beverage Magazine brought to life. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farmers, foodies, and friends of the world of Food and Beverage Magazine. Now we're here live. Michael Politz, publisher of Food and Beverage Magazine. Jennifer English.
Hello.
World-renowned. Jen, wait, they can't see your face yet. I've got to get rid of the logo. World-renowned Jennifer English, James Beard winner, and our special guest, Sarah Simon from the Dandy Crown, Chicago.
Woohoo! Hey, hey. Hi, everybody.
We're practicing social distancing. Whoa, I'm all over the place here. What's going on?
Do you like my mask? I just realized we don't need these because we're not even in the same states.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right.
That's funny. Michael, where'd you get that mask? It looks like a yarmulke for your mouth.
It's a brassiere.
It's
half a brassiere. It's half a brassiere.
Oh my God, that's so funny. It's like a training bra.
My mom bought me this.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah. Okay.
We should draw in in that whiteout. We should draw like a white mustache on it, like a white curly Q mustache.
I love that.
Do you know who's with us today?
I do. You won't believe who's with us today.
We have such a juicy
Sarah.
show. Do you remember what happened yesterday, Michael?
What happened yesterday?
Somebody in the White House briefing made a comment that we should be doing something with disinfectants.
I don't think that's true. I think that was I don't think that was really what he meant.
So
let's talk.
So today, you know what we're going to do today?
What are we going to do?
We're going to look at the world of plants and botanicals and natural solutions to this pandemic problem that we have. We're going to reach out to our friends in the business for their ideas and solutions about how we can get through this. How are they getting through this? And how we can all get through this together. And you know who's joining us?
Who?
Sarah Simon.
No, she's not.
Yes.
You mean our Sarah Simon?
Yes. Yes.
Hi, Sarah.
From
Hi.
the Dandy Crown in Chicago. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Awesome. Sarah is one of the 2020 Tales of the Cocktail Spirited Award nominees. Hello.
Oh, sorry. That's where she's from, the Dandy Crown.
I know.
You know, Jennifer, just because I'm a great publisher doesn't mean I'm a great IT guy for our live streaming.
So listen, Sarah's at her bar. She's invited us to step up to her brass rail, and she's going to tell us all about her odyssey because they haven't even been open that long, but they are already considered one of the top places in North America to get a great mixed drink. And we want to salute her and congratulate her on her nomination. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's really, really exciting.
See how I'm doing that? I'm flashing it like it's a... You know, we've got somebody backstage. We've got Stu Lawrence backstage. Should we bring him onto the show? Or you want to talk about? You want him to be on this one with Sarah?
Yeah, they're all. We're having a party. You know, one of the things that's missing, Sarah. And
I'm bringing Stu on.
Yeah, bring Stu on. Hey, Stu.
There he is.
How are you, man?
Hey guys, I'm well. How are you? Can you hear me?
We can. You look great. You sound great. So, you know, one of the things when Michael and I were talking about doing this, there is no show for the industry that is so hard hit. And the fact is, in many cities, you can get food to go, you can get drinks to go, and we're still hungry. We're still craving. Something's still missing. And you know what that is? That conviviality. You can get the food, but it doesn't taste the same. You can get a drink and it's still delicious, but it's being together that matters. And we said we have got to come up with a way of bringing everybody in the industry together, all our friends in the business. So Stu, welcome aboard. We're going to have some fun. I want to introduce you to our friend Sarah Simon. She's one of the Spirited Award nominees from this year's Tales of the Cocktail from her bar in Chicago, where she's welcoming us to her rail right now. And we're just going to ask her, Sarah, how are you managing? Are you guys open or closed or what's going on? Are you doing food and drinks to go?
We are not. In Illinois, cocktails to go is not a thing. So you can sell like cocktail kits to go, but individual cocktails can't be sold to go at this point. So most places that are still open and operating are just doing food to go.
Yep.
We don't have a kitchen yet.
Because you're really brand new open. When did you open for real?
We opened December 15th.
Wow.
So we hit our 3-month birthday right before everything shut down.
And that's just when a place begins to work out the kinks.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really fun ride throughout the winter. We opened at a weird time. Opening right before Christmas is a little bit of a gamble. But we're situated in a neighborhood in Chicago where there are a ton of residences, but not a ton of places to eat and drink. So especially the street that we're on, there's one other bar 2 blocks away, and then the next bar that you can get to is like 5 or 6 blocks away. So
what's the neighborhood you're in?
We're in a neighborhood called River West.
Okay. And what was the concept for your bar besides, being the only bar in the neighborhood, basically?
So we really wanted to create, the neighborhood bar, right? I grew up in Chicago. I'm born and raised on the northwest side of the city, where every bar around there is a neighborhood bar, just because of where it is and the amount of people that live there. And so I really wanted to bring that vibe where like you go in, the people that are sitting down the bar from you, the bartender knows you, they know what you want to drink.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to have that environment and that vibe, but with an elevated cocktail menu.
Yeah.
So, but everything without pretension. So my bar team they're all rock stars. They've all been doing this a really long time. They all know a lot about cocktail history and craft cocktails, and they're, at the top of their game, but they're also down to earth. So you can come in and get, a Champs-Élysées and nerd out with your bartender about how, the history of that cocktail and how it's made. Or you can come in and just drink a Miller Lite and a shot of tequila, and it's no difference. You're still going to come in, you're going to be able to have great conversation and, build that rapport and build that sense of community.
One of the things that's important for people to remember is you say that, like it's something we can these days take for granted. But when we started Tales of the Cocktail, and I was part of the group that was the New Orleans Culinary and Cultural Preservation Society that put on Tales. I was on the first seminar panel at Tales back almost 20 years ago. And we had the dream that we could walk into any bar anywhere in the world and order a Negroni and not have to explain to somebody how to make it. When you just take for granted that, well, you could have come in and order a Champs-Élysées. 10 years ago, you couldn't have gone into most neighborhood bars, ordered that, and not had to talk the mixologist or bartender through the process. So
for sure. I mean, we're very fortunate to be at a time in, this cocktail revival where bartenders are really educated, and you don't, 9 out of 10 bars that you go into, you can order a Negroni or you can order something more complicated, and your bartender is going to know how to make it. And so I think that's really cool. And so I think the thing, to strive for nowadays, where everyone has a great cocktail program, it's almost a given that any bar you walk into is going to have a cocktail program. What you want to strive for is the community aspect of it. You want it to be
reality
place, and you want it to be a place that people want to come back to.
Yeah. It's interesting. You're in a city where the aviary is widely considered one of the preeminent cocktail institutions in the world. Mm-hmm. And to be competitive and welcomed, accepted, and thriving at the time that you had to, shutter things for the pandemic, you had to be operating at a really high level because Chicago was one of the great food and cocktail scenes in the country.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is one of those times when I turn to Stu and say, as somebody who travels for business and is a sophisticated guy, I would ask, where do you go in Chicago, and have you been to Sarah's bar? But it's only been open a few months, and I got to take the shot. Have you been there?
I have not been to a bar, no. I actually used to live years ago west of Chicago, out in St. Charles. So we make our way into the city a fair amount.
Cool.
But no, unfortunately haven't.
All right. So, Sarah, one of the things that we're so psyched to have you on today, because both you and Stu are part of the theme of this show today, which is about botanicals and how.
Can I just say one thing, Jennifer?
Yes.
Jennifer has one of these, you guys. Have you seen that before? I just want to say Jennifer has a James Beard Award. Hold on, my 3-year-old's yelling at me. Come over here, buddy. I just want to make sure everybody knows that she let's do it again. She has one. Stu, am I doing a good job technically? Now, one more technical question before you go on. If I look like this, does it look to you like I'm looking at Sarah and then I go down and I'm looking at Stu?
Yeah.
Is that the funnest thing you guys have ever like? Let's do that.
It's very Brady Bunch.
It reminds me.
Where's Alice?
Brady Bunch. There you go.
All right, just making sure. Anything else I need to show or I wish, Stu, I wish I had your logo because I would plop it up.
So I have to do that?
Yeah.
No, I'll do it. Just send it to me in the private chat, Stu. Stu, if you see the private chat, send me your website and I'll grab a logo and we'll see how technically advanced the publisher of Food and Beverage Magazine is.
You're pretty
12 million readers. Did I say 12 million readers strong today yet?
No.
It's actually, that's a month, and it's actually more because this right now, 19,000 people an hour are coming to the website.
Woohoo!
It's insane.
All right, so here's the thing. So our theme today, after what happened, that debacle that happened, that somebody suggested that we can use ultraviolet light and chemical disinfectants to treat, because the millions of doctors all over the world treating COVID-19 patients hadn't thought of using something so simple, right? It's just too simple an idea. So we get this idea, this crazy idea, and it dawned on us that we need to turn to our friends in the hospitality world for really, simple solutions, natural solutions to this pandemic problem. And what is more natural than turning to the plants and natural world for the things that we know that we bring to the table, from farm to table, from everything from actual cleaning supplies that are natural and non-toxic that Stu's going to talk about in a minute, to my good friend right above me here, Sarah, talking about how we can take these beautiful spring flavors and make a cocktail that is perfect for just this very moment today, no matter where you are in the country. Sarah, what'd you fix for us?
So I was going to make you guys a berry and basil gimlet.
I love gimlets.
So I'm gonna make it, and I'll just.
We're gonna pour it.
Do it.
We're gonna pour some over for Stu.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So one of the things that I really like doing at the bar is taking, the sort of like the simplest of cocktails and then just kind of tweaking them a little bit to make them a little bit more unique. So the Gimlet framework is the perfect thing to do that with, because all it is spirit, sugar, and citrus, right? At its core, that's all Gimlet is. So you can start to play with like the different flavors depending on what you have around the house. So I'm going to start with lime juice. And then we have a bunch of frozen fruits and vegetables in our freezer.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So we had frozen strawberries and raspberries that were sort of looking like they were about to get freezer burned. So I made a little syrup out of that.
Nice.
This is like a strawberry raspberry simple.
And that's just equal parts of sugar and water, and then the berries strained carefully, and then you left with flavor. How long did you cook it for?
So I cooked it. So I made the simple first. So I did sugar and water until the sugar dissolved. And then I put the berries in and like simmered that super low for probably about 20, 25 minutes until the berries kind of like puffed up and looked like they were about to explode. And then I strained it out. So the whole thing probably took maybe 30 minutes. It was pretty quick though. But yeah, so I'm gonna put that with a little bit of vodka. And then we have also been making a lot of soup at our house, and we did sort of like a pho style soup this week. So we've got a bunch of basil lying around the house. So I'm gonna put some basil leaves in there too.
Hey, Sarah.
Yes.
Sarah. Oh,
Yeah.
where'd Jennifer go? I'm like mortified. You said pho, like very, it was nice the way you like very like ethnic, the way you. Do you feel silly when you say that? Like I say gyro.
A little bit.
I say stew. Do you say gyro?
No,
And not gyro?
Gyro.
I don't say gyro. I feel weird.
I probably
I'm just
said gyro and got corrected.
Well, you got corrected, but I don't know if it's like I don't know. I'm just wondering. Listen, when I told Paul Bocuse, make your food too small, I thought I jumped the shark at that point.
Nice.
But then I said the same thing to Guy, and Guy said, Michael, if you're hungry, have more. That was Guy Savoy, right?
That's a very sensible thing. So this is about sensible. Like we hang out with the sensible people in this industry. In fact, our whole industry is pretty sensible for the most part, right? We've got boys and girls and men and women and people all over the country who are in the same boat where they can't open their doors, but they're all trying to figure out how we can get through this together. And one of the things that Sarah's doing today from the Dandy Crown in Chicago, one of the country's top brand new bars, is offer us a way of a technique, no matter what the ingredients are that you have. In case you have it, I've got basil growing abundantly right now in the garden. The basil plants are fecund. They're beautiful and bright and just gently licoricey. And Sarah, what have you got there with the berries?
In here?
That looks good.
Yeah. So I shook the lime berry syrup and vodka with like 4 or 5 basil leaves. So you've got like a basil berry gimlet.
Nice.
And it's delicious.
Nice. Do you have a house toast yet for the Dandy Crown?
No, not really.
We got to work on that together. We're big toasting people. Well, we'll work on that with you. Stu Lawrence is here with us. Talk about the two of you because you have something in common. From Cleanwell today, Stu Lawrence is here visiting with us. Hey, Michael.
Stu, you like that?
I do. Yep. Thank you.
So
You
the
feel
tie
good?
together.
I'm gonna hit your banner up now too. I just want to make sure everyone's.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we're actually in the middle of redoing our packaging, so our website's a little in the process of launching. And Sarah, I was going to ask, could you just hand me one of those drinks? I mean, It's late on a Friday. Here.
Stu, that would be do it. Grab it.
Nice.
Thank you.
That's awesome, Stu. Hey, everybody. This is Stu Lawrence from Cleanwell today, and he's our friend in the business who is taking this idea of botanicals and plants as solutions for natural solutions for this pandemic problem that we're having. Stu, you and Sarah both have this sort of plant richness to what we're talking about today. Each of you, I want to have a chance to talk about this. Stu, talk about Cleanwell and what kinds of stuff you guys do.
Yep. Yeah, so we make, we don't use the word natural just for many historical reasons of how it's defined, but we use botanical because we source ingredients from plants. Our active ingredient, I mean, a lot of things come from plants, right? And oftentimes people scratch their head and they're like, wow, if it's from a plant, it must be foofy or, whatever. Our active ingredient is common in a lot of herbs. It's called thymol. We go through the same EPA registration type information that any company, any major company that you're aware of goes through.
Yep.
The same path. So we make botanical-based disinfectants, wipes, sprays, as well as hand sanitizers. And then we make them under our own brand. And we also partner with a few companies to make their products as well. We've been doing it for about 10 years. Yeah.
So what happened? How did your world blow up yesterday when it was suggested that disinfectants can do something relative to COVID?
Yeah. You mean in terms of the comments made of ingesting it?
Well, did your sales go through the roof yesterday?
No, not yesterday. I would say thankfully not. I mean, early March, things really took off, and it's been kind of crazy in that respect. I mean, it's unprecedented the amount of folks buying products, the higher usage, and obviously, what happened yesterday did not. What it did more than anything caused us to kind of scratch our heads and react and work with people to get guidance out there that you need to follow directions and not ingest.
So as our friend in the business, can you kind of break down where we are and where we need to be doing whatever we can do to protect ourselves and the people in our communities? What do you understand about where we are with all this? And as somebody sort of in the business, what can you tell us about what we should know?
Yeah, so I mean, all in all, since this started, and it feels, I think, to all of us like it's been 6 months, right? It's been 5 weeks or so. My head's been down, kind of trying to get supply to meet demand. But I would say a couple of things. One, I feel the CDC has put out really good really good guidance on what to do. And obviously this is an evolving situation. So, there might be something that needs to change in terms of the guidance that we're hearing. The biggest thing that I find is that because of the increased use and frequency that we're finding, people that didn't use it before, disinfectant before, now they're using it more frequently or at all, which causes a supply issue. So you're not getting, you either have a lot at home or you don't have any in the grocery store. So that leads to two issues, in my opinion. One is a lot of folks are mixing stuff at home, and I think in general mixing chemicals is a bad idea. You hear about people putting vinegar and bleach together. That's a no-no. It's toxic. So make sure you're educated on that front. But then the other side is people using the products much more. And then I'm talking about the whole industry, not any brand or product in particular. Couple that with kids being home a lot. Right. We're seeing a lot of incidents, not with our product per se, but in general, where people don't read the directions. Number one, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest challenges is, and this is not new. Even people that use disinfectants regularly, they don't seem to read the directions. That's what our research has shown. And a lot of disinfectants have warning labels all over them. Wear protective gear. I mean, I'm talking about the stuff that you buy at the store that's common, probably in your household. Wear glasses. Change your clothes. Wash your clothes after using. If you're using it on a food contact surface, make sure you clean after you disinfect. A lot of products have pretty dire warnings on the back, and that's all regulated by the EPA. From our standpoint, going through the same process, fortunately we don't have a lot of those claims, which is nice. It makes it a little bit easier for folks to use, but all in all, just read the directions. You might need glasses to get to that fine print, but read that.
What's the one thing that you most want to make sure everybody that's with us today, all our friends, know about how to protect themselves and what we should be doing? I know CDC and the hand washing thing. Is there a way or a product with which we should be washing our hands? And what about clean, today products? Yeah. What kind of stuff are you making to help us?
Yeah, I mean, all in all.
Stu, hold on. Also, let's talk about food service, right? Like, what can the restaurants do today as we get back into that same conversation? Yeah. What can the restaurants do today to help for opening in however many weeks they're going to open? What should they be doing? I was under the impression, are things festering in the restaurant right now if they walked out? Like, what's happening? What can you tell us about that stuff?
Interesting. I think doing a thorough clean and disinfect is important. We've got restaurants here on our block that are doing, curbside. They've typically got a hand sanitizer or disinfectant. They're doing that pretty frequently. As things are evolving, candidly, I kind of want to leave it up to those that are really specifically researching certain industries as to what needs to be done. I think frequent cleaning, washing your hands. I mean, it's been beaten into people, but it's been beaten into people for every cold and flu season for years, right? Wash your hands. So hopefully we're going to see that change. Whether you're going to the bathroom or just, you've just been out and about, you come home, wash your hands. Hopefully that guidance is getting through to people. Restaurants in particular, the ones around us, I know, they're making changes, and they have to try to get food out. So, there are some restaurants where you pull up, you pop your trunk or, your back, and folks come out and deliver it. So there's varying levels of I guess, touch points. Wearing masks. I mean, obviously I don't have one on now, but I'm not getting it on anyone, and no one comes into here right now. But, wearing masks as much as you can. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I can't hear you, but my good lip reader.
Listen, I want to go back to Sarah for a minute, because the reason we have you guys on together, we've sort of, I want you to think of this as like a cocktail party where we brought the best guests who are really going to have something in common and really enjoy being together. And of course, when you're behind the bar, so many of the things up behind you on that shelf have their roots, no pun intended, in botanicals and roots and other aromatic and plant-based origins. And certainly when we talk to Stu about what his company's involved with, the very, richly botanical focused way that they develop the products that are very effective are oriented in that same natural world. Will you guys talk from your own perspective about how important that notion of botanicals are for you? Because I want people to remember wherever they are in the world, they've got something growing that they can bring into their own moment in this quarantine. Sarah, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I mean, the majority of alcoholic production is rooted in botanicals and rooted in fresh ingredients. I think from my perspective and from a bar perspective, the most important thing is looking at seasonality and looking at what you can grow yourself, what you can create with what you have in season currently. So the plan was to change the menu 4 times a year at the bar to reflect the changing seasons and to have the drinks complement the time of year.
Right.
We had a very, very wintry menu. I was 90% done with the new cocktail menu when the shutdown happened. And now I think we're going to have to push it a little bit further and start looking at the more summery fruits and herbs and all of that to kind of make them, make when we reopen, because it'll be at least June by the time we reopen. The stuff that was applicable in March is not necessarily applicable in June.
Right.
So I think just taking a more thoughtful approach to that and just kind of paying attention to the changing seasons and the changing flavors and adapting your menus in the way that you approach making cocktails to that, I think is really important. And again, it's another little thing that will set bars apart from one another.
Right.
If you have that conscious thinking. And Michael saw him earlier. My boyfriend is a chef, and we talk about that. We talk about that constantly about like what's coming into season, what complements one another. And, we start to sort of build drinks and dishes from there, which is pretty cool.
Can you introduce Sebastian and bring him on?
Yeah, and I could use some food.
Yeah.
Bring him on. Stu, like this. Bring him on.
This is Sebastian. He's a sous chef at a restaurant called Porto in Chicago.
Oh, wow.
So,
nice to meet you, chef.
Basque cuisine, Jennifer. Basque cuisine.
Portuguese and Basque.
Yeah.
So we
love
cuisine. Again, this is the way I pronounce it, okay? Stu, I don't want to look down on you, but you hear what they're doing to me right here?
Can I tell you? If I could only have 3 spices to use for, and I'm Mrs. Spices, you can see it says one of my 3 desert island spices is smoked paprika, Sebastian.
Oh yeah. It is a favorite of mine. It really is. There's something about just the actual sweetness, but the depth of that spice alone just travels really well.
Yeah.
We had to make an emergency grocery store run last week because we didn't have paprika and we needed paprika.
Nice.
Hey, Sebastian, are you familiar with this? Are you familiar with this logo?
Stop.
Jennifer English is a James Beard Award winner.
Well,
She's
congratulations.
an award winner.
Thank you.
But we really want everyone to be familiar with this logo because it sounds like we can really make a difference, people.
Hey, I want to go to
that was for you.
Yeah, we posed this big, sweeping, tie it all together question, and I wanted to come back to you, Stu, and give you the opportunity to talk about why plants and the plant world and the natural world is so important to the philosophy and the mission of what you guys do at Cleanwell.
Yeah, I mean, it was at the root of the founding of the company, making sure that we do something a little different, something from the earth, something that's regenerative, and really focus on trying to get, ingredients similar to that. So, also working with the agencies, we have to work extensively with folks like the EPA, and they're great to work with, and their guidance is clear to do so. And one of the benefits we've been able to do going this sort of earth plant route is get sort of a low toxicity rating, which allows our products to be, can't use the word safe because there's so many complications with that. But really, the way we look at it is you don't have the warning labels all over the packaging about wearing safety glasses and protective gear to do so. So it's really at the core of our company and has been since the founding.
Stu, tell everybody where they can order your products these days.
I know that's probably the hardest question to answer. And the reason why is right now we're dealing with unprecedented demand. And there you go. We sell it at retailers, nationally, heavily within the natural channel, some conventional as well, and then on online retailers as well. The problem is the second we produce and ship out, it gets to the store shelves, it's gone.
Yeah.
Amazon would be an example. Online, they've been out of stock now for 6 weeks, and we've continued to ship them products, but their future.
This is our chance. This is our chance to ask the guy that ships and gets sold out immediately, what happens? Like, we go there, we're like, oh my God, Smith's had toilet paper. Nope, no toilet. Like we have Lysol. Oh, I got Clorox. Whatever it is, right? So now we have a guy that ships. Stu, what's it like? What is it? How does it work?
Yeah, so what's interesting is, we get consumers that are, and a lot of people in our industry are consumers that are mad. As if to say, I mean, they're not saying this, but as if to say, how could you not plan for this? And, if you think about it, we sold the first 2 weeks of March. So in February, we produced a new look, new branding, new labels, which you can kind of see on our website. We're starting to roll that out. That was supposed to get us through September, October. Okay. On top of that, we had safety stock of things like packaging and whatnot. Well, in the first 2 weeks of March, when this all hit and really picked up steam, we sold out of all that inventory. It was supposed to get us into back to school. Okay. Then we have to go to our manufacturing facilities, which we share with others, and have to kind of fight for, not literally fight, but fight for line time to produce more that was previously unscheduled. To use up the components we currently had in inventory as like safety stock. And that safety stock, in some cases, could be 6 months worth of normal sales, right? Well, we go ahead and we produce that, say, a month later, if we're lucky on some of SKUs, and that sells out immediately. I mean, it's into the warehouse and it's out almost right away. And then you're looking at a situation where everyone is trying to get resin-based products. So canisters, bottles, sprayer heads, a lot of it's coming from around the world, some US, and I'm talking about the industry as a whole. Normal lead times to get those components are 8 to 10 weeks, right? Now they're getting extended to 15, 20, I mean, much longer. So you've already gone through your safety stock finished goods inventory. The retailers have already sold through their inventory, right? We've already gone through our safety stock of components to make more because we've made more. Right. Now we have to wait, right?
Hey,
so, yeah.
Stu, it's Jennifer.
Yeah.
On your best-selling product, how many components in that one product are we talking about? Like a cap, a lid, a bottle, a label, like how many different components are there?
Typically 2. Yeah, most of them will typically have 2. You'll have a canister or a spray bottle, a sprayer lid, a top, and then maybe a substrate or the white material that goes on a wipe. And I could bore you for hours talking about this, but other examples like the substrate that's in a wipe, right? Some of the material that goes into those wipes are under much higher demand because they are using it for making medical masks, or different types of masks. So now you have demand, just unprecedented demand coming from every angle. So I mean, it's really been a challenge. And
can you explain? I don't know the answer. What's a substrate?
Right. Sorry. The way we substrate can be used for a lot of different things. Labels can be considered the substrate material. For us, we refer to it as the wipe material. So the cloth.
Because you make botanical-based disinfecting wipes.
Correct. And sprays. Yep.
You want to grab some behind you there and show us
some of the new labels. So here's a spray, right? 3 components. It's empty. 3 components. You got this piece with the dip tube, the bottle, and then the label on top of that. Labels have even some of the material used in these are in such high demand it can be the lead times get that much further out. And then wipes. Your typical pull through wipe. It's empty. But yeah, so it has been very challenging for everyone in the industry.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of our viewers just noted that they're a big fan of the product and they wanted to know if the Cleanwell hats are even going to be for sale.
We have a small supply of them right now.
Peter Resnick. Do you know Peter Resnick? Is this a plant? Did he do this? Look at this. He wrote that. I love Clemo. It's the Bob. Does he work for you?
Yeah, no comment. No comment.
Oh my God, Peter. Oh God, I had to ask the question.
Yeah, I thought he was a friend of yours, Politz, because he's playing the guitar like all your rock and roll friends.
I know. Does Peter play the guitar? What does he do? Let's look at that picture right there, Stu.
Yeah.
He looks like a clean guy.
That's
what does he do? Is he in a band?
Looks like it.
What band would he be in, Peter Resnick?
I don't know. I'll have to look that up.
All right, let me look it up right now.
Hey,
We may have to get him on.
So, Steve, what city are you in right now?
I'm in Denver.
And let's talk a little bit about what your community is experiencing with regard to the whole food and beverage scene. You obviously is this your home that we're talking to you in, or is this your office, or both?
Yeah, no, I'm actually in our offices. We have a lab here that we use from a quality standpoint. So we have one person coming in out of the lab who I typically don't see, because I come in and shut my door and sit in here and crank away on various things. But yeah, I do live and work in Denver.
And so what's going on there with regard to restaurants and how are people managing? Is Denver one of those places where it's on tight lockdown, or are people out enjoying the spring weather, or what's going on in Denver?
Yeah, I mean, you get a combination of both, but I mean, for the most part, you're not seeing nearly as many people out, which is good. I mean, that's been the guidance. So, it's changed over the past couple of days, the stay at home versus there was a safer at home, and the stay at home was just extended into May. And no, I feel like at least where I'm living, we're out walking the dog, people are wearing masks. The behavior it's sad in many ways, but it's the right thing for everyone to do right now. When you're walking down the sidewalk with your dog or without your dog, people are going out into the street. There's definitely, that 10 plus feet, I would say, more than the 6 foot. So it's good to see that people are doing that. And you're not seeing as many people out and about, not as many cars on the road, which again is sad but good right now.
I want to ask you also, and Michael, I want to ask you and Sarah this question. Do you think when the time comes to open up, however long from now that is, do you think we're ever going to go back to not being so wash your hands, disinfectant oriented? Do you think that this is the moment that we'll just never go back from?
Oh, was that
if Peter Resnick is? I think she's saying if Pete Resnick is playing the gig, are we all going to use hand sanitizers at the gig?
Right. Oh, so we've thought a lot about that, right? That might be the question. No, I would say, all in all, people have pretty short memories, right? Is something that I feel. So I think in the near term, it is absolutely going to change people's behavior massively, right? I think as you look down the road, things loosen. Whatever it is that happens in our life, we have short memories about that. So I think we are going to get back to the norm at some point, but there are behaviors that are going to change. There's no question about that. How much, we don't know. And frankly, we're only, as we were talking earlier, we're only 5 or 6 weeks into this, right? So let's all hope it ends quickly, right? But if it doesn't, I think that'll further, consumer behavior, human behavior. But some of what we're getting insights to, I think, is kind of sad. The hyper diligence about things and the distancing. I don't love it. Our office is pretty much remote outside of the lab, and then me sitting here in the corner looking out the window. And that's sad. We're resorting to Zoom and GoToMeeting and things like that to try to continue to have a community that we normally have here, and it's hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. So,
do you have one piece of advice for everybody that's tuned in with us and our friends that if we can't get out and if we can't get access to your products, is there something in the sort of clean well today tradition that you could do with whatever you have at home? Is there some technique or old wives' tale or home remedy that you can suggest we
there are a few out there. Some folks use like a vinegar with water. I think the biggest thing to do, you get educated. There are sites out there, pretty credible sites that have different options to use. Be careful. don't go ahead and just mix stuff. Don't, there are a lot. You keep reading these articles of what things people are doing, and it's a little bit scary to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think just get educated, wash your hands. Yeah.
Sarah, I'm going to throw the same kind of question to you. Do you think that you're going to be operating differently when you do open back up from this? You're a relatively young restaurant. You've only been open 3 months. You're still finding yourself in a way. How is this experience changing you guys?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's changing so many things. I mean, I think it makes us all realize, and I don't mean to speak for my staff, but I think my staff probably feels the same as I do. It makes you way more grateful for the job that you have, because we don't have any right now. And it reminds us that, bars and restaurants are important meeting places. Like, they're important community centers. And, we miss that right now, because you can't go sit at your friend's bar and catch up with them. You have to FaceTime them or Zoom them or text or whatever. And it's great that we're finding all these alternate ways to stay connected during this time. But it really makes you realize, like, how important these places are. And so I think, when we come back, obviously from like a functional standpoint, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to change. Yep. And I was actually just talking to one of the owners about this earlier today, because we're working on building out our patio. We were talking about, what kind of tables to buy. And I told her, we probably just have to wait, because we don't know what regulations are going to look like when we do reopen. And so we could plan, but it's very likely that whatever we plan, in a month, we'll find out that we can't do it then.
I'm going to ask you, what's everything like in Chicago right now?
It's interesting. So the neighborhood that we live in is very residential. We live in a neighborhood called Ukrainian Village, which is about 3 miles west of downtown Chicago. And it's a lot of families and kids and dogs and all that. So now that the weather's starting to get a little bit nicer, we're actually seeing a lot of people out on our streets. Everyone is pretty good about social distancing and wearing a mask and all that, and people are pretty respectful of that. But the downtown area is just deserted. There's no one anywhere downtown. The mayor closed all of our parks, and she closed the lakefront because people weren't respecting social distancing in the very beginning, because we had one really nice day and people went to the beach and threw parties. So Mayor Lightfoot took it away from us. Which, if you guys haven't seen the memes of our Chicago mayor, they're absolutely hilarious.
Okay.
People have been superimposing.
Have you guys seen my mayor?
Have
you guys seen the Vegas mayor?
No.
Michael's in Las Vegas.
Horrendous. Go ahead. Anyway.
But yeah.
Hey, Stu, does this mean anything to you? Does this mean anything to you? That's actually the Lawless. Are you familiar with that band?
Yeah, they sound familiar.
Wait, you're not in there, are you?
No.
Is that you, Stu?
I'm in the middle.
Standing up laughing with the fiddle?
Yeah, it is.
I know. I see the blonde hair. I could see it.
Busted.
Busted.
Hey, is that
Did you know Resnick was going to steal the show? Stu, you didn't know Resnick was going to steal the show, did you?
No.
That's fine.
Resnick from the law lying at the porch. Go ahead.
Look at the ink that our girl's rocking at her bar there. Did you ever do Speed Rack?
I did.
Jennifer,
for 3
years. We have a viewer that we're very close with, Doug Simon. No relation to Sarah Simon, but extreme brother of my late best friend, Carrie Simon.
Oh,
so
nice.
He is watching us right now. Hello, Dougie. Okay. Commenting on he's texting me, commenting. He likes the red on the hat, he said. Okay.
Nice.
You may want to tell everyone who Carrie Simon
about
is.
This incredible mixology competition that travels around called Speed Rack. I've both been a competitor and a judge. And I wanted to know, tell me about your Speed Rack, because it was in Chicago not long ago. Or maybe what seems not long ago.
It was in November, I think. It was in Chicago. I didn't compete this year. I haven't competed in 3 years. I did 3 years in a row. My last year was 3 years ago.
Okay.
But one of my bartenders competed this year. I helped her train. She made the top 8 and lost.
Nice.
She lost to the girl that won the whole thing. So,
well, that's where I first heard about you, because I saw because they used to do these great videos, these movies, and they were like title fights. You know, that Holyfield Tyson behind you, Mike. They used to shoot these, and it almost started like as part of a production company that made these great movies.
mm-hmm.
And that's sort of how it grew, and then it became this thing, and it was to raise money for, you know, cancer. So it's one of the top mixology competitions in the world. It should be its own TV show.
It's incredible. It's an incredible competition.
And I knew that I was doomed when I competed when it was in Arizona up against Kim Hasserud, and we just were watching, you know, because we feel like grandmas by now, because, you know, 20 years ago, when the cocktail thing was just starting to happen and we were just starting Tales of the Cocktail, you know, we were 100 cocktail nerds in a room. Today, it's tens of thousands of people, millions of people all over the world. But what's so cool about back then is we can now, as the grandmas, look at you kids and how beautifully and fast and clean you work, and you make amazing drinks, and you're completely creative. And we could never have dreamed a dream as big as our industry being inherited by people like you, Sarah, and Ivy Mix and Julie. The world has been handed over in this sense to extraordinary people, and that you're doing it in Chicago at your place at Crander. I got to say, congratulations. And I'm thrilled that Tales of the Cocktail recognized you for your work.
Me too. Me too.
Nice.
Yeah. It's a bummer that there won't be traditional Tales of the Cocktail this year, but it's
we'll get Simon Ford on with us, and we'll do something. We'll get Tony and Dale too. We'll get everybody on. If there's one thing where you want to turn people on to this drink that we made today, the Gimlet, is there a place you want to send people to get a further taste of what you're doing at your joint?
I would say just for our social media, we've been posting a lot on our Instagram and our Facebook, different recipes. I did an interview on one of our local news stations earlier this week, and so I have the cocktails that I made on the news with recipes and, you know, step-by-step instructions and all that, and that's on our Instagram and our Facebook. And we'll try and do, you know.
And what's the hashtag for that?
Just the Dandy. I think it's the Dandy Crown.
Okay.
Maybe the Dandy Crown bar. You know.
Okay.
Remember. I think just the Dandy Crown.
Okay.
But yeah, we and, you know, once we reopen, we're pretty active on social media, posting different drinks and different things that we're up to, and all the educational stuff that we try to provide for our staff, so that, you know, because you never stop learning.
So not long ago, we had an event, maybe 5 years, to bring attention to Michael's good friend and mine, Carrie Simon, who suffered from multiple system atrophy, MSA, and we were doing a celebrity mixology event, and Tony Abugam and I and a bunch of the kids from Herbs and Ryan all over Las Vegas were there, and I'm standing there doing my sort of shift behind the bar. And they brought a bunch of us in from all over the country to do this, just to help our pal Kerry. And one of his other pals came up to the bar and ordered some drinks. And I looked up, and it was none other than Bill Murray. And can you guess what Bill Murray ordered when he was ordering drinks from me that night, Michael?
Who was Bill? Did Bill have a drink? I want to say he did.
He ordered gimlets, vodka gimlets.
He's a guy.
And he's a Chicago guy. We go to Chicago, and our Chicago bartender is making us gimlets. Is gimlet a Chicago thing?
I don't think so. I think the only Chicago thing is Old Style and Malort. We'll take credit for that.
Okay, that's awesome. Hey, you guys, thanks a million for joining us today.
Stu, after this conversation, you're going to start naming the Gimlet sanitizer.
I don't know. We'll have to look at how that smell works out. Yeah, it might be a little bit of a mix-up of drinking and.
Listen, my I wish is that Stu and Cleanwell does a line of hospitality industry products for all of us that really care about the food we put in our bodies and the things we wash and put in our places. We're conscientious about everything we eat and drink. We want the best for our guests and for ourselves and our families. We would love it if you could, come in and make sure that we have the best stuff in the trade as well. There's still way too many chemicals just on the other side of the bar as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. We do have a professional line that we just launched this year with one of our partners, which is 7th Generation.
Oh, okay. Great.
We make their disinfectants. They're a close partner of ours, and they have a new professional line that you'll be seeing soon.
Well, listen, everybody in the business, let's tell everybody, because we are all about getting the trade out there. And the readers and viewers and listeners from Food and Beverage Magazine and Food and Beverage Podcast Network are also people who are in the business. And so the name of the professional line that we could go and get from our reps is 7th Generation? Or does it have another trade name?
Yep. No,
that's a huge brand. That's a huge brand.
Yep.
That's cool. Hey, Stu, thanks a million for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good luck, guys. Stay well.
You know what? I wonder, do you have a toast that you share before you start cleaning, the way mixologists share a toast before they clink glasses? If I was going to wash my hands, what do we say? Is there like a toasting tradition in cleaning?
God, you stumped me. I'm going to have to come up with one, but you might have to just go with the ABCs.
All right. Well, Sarah, shall we give these boys a toast to close this out?
Yeah, I'm going to pour us a couple shots of Malort to do.
And tell everybody who's not from Chicago.
More importantly, Jennifer, more importantly, if you go to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com, you can pick up my new book, Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Success. And let me get in here so I can see Stu. And right now is the perfect time because you've got time to read.
You've got time to read.
Read.
Yeah,
I want to make this
mistake, right? That, actually.
Okay, Stu, Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. And in case anybody's wondering, not self-published.
No. It's Wiley, isn't it?
It is Wiley Publishing, and I was already paid. I was already paid, so there's nothing to worry about.
All right, let's talk for the non-Chicagoans in the audience. What's Malort?
So Malort is actually a Swedish category of spirit called Bärspraven, which basically just means it's made with wormwood. But Jeppson's Malort has been made in Chicago since before Prohibition by Swedish immigrants that settled on the north side of the city. It was actually sold during Prohibition as a medicinal aid. And the cool thing, before I talk about what it tastes like, the cool thing about the label is that they give a little clue on here to how long it's been made in Chicago. So the Chicago flag has 4 stars on it for 4 different important events in Chicago's history. If you look on the label, there's only 3 right there, wow, because the 4th star hadn't happened yet when they started making Malort in Chicago.
Wow.
Cool. So Malort gets a really bad rap. There's plenty of videos you can watch of people's Malort faces or talking about how terrible it is. It's really just dry and bitter. It's like biting into a grapefruit rind.
How is it different from something like, say, like a Fernet Branca?
So Fernet's going to be much sweeter and a little bit more viscous and a little bit more herbal, whereas this is just it's light and dry and bitter. Think the same kind of bitter as Campari.
Yeah.
It's that kind of bitter.
Okay.
It's not sweet bitter, it's dry bitter.
And then
we don't like to use the word bitter a lot. What's it, Jen? We don't like to use the word bitter. It reminds us of a lot of our friends.
Can you use that in place of a Campari in a Negroni? Do you make a Malort Negroni?
You probably can. I've never tried it, but Malort actually plays really well in cocktails. I've put a few cocktails on menus that use Malort in it. The thing is, you have to be really careful because it's very prominent. So if you use too much of it, all of a sudden all you're tasting is Malort. which you really only want to only taste Malort if you're shooting it.
Gotcha.
But otherwise, it's a really nice, just like bittering agent in cocktails.
And so is there a toast that you share when you share the Malort?
Not specifically, but we could do our toast.
You're 3 for 3 bad on the toast right now, Jen.
I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm a disciple of the toasting tradition. I'm going to do so here, and I haven't done this on the show yet, but I know you have a glass, Stu, because you held it up, and so all of us. I was in Napa, California with Julia Child, and I asked her what the toast was that she shared with her husband when they had guests in their home. She clinked her glass to mine. And she said, Le Carillon de l'Amitié, the bells of friendship. So may we clink and hear the bells of friendship.
Yeah.
To the bells of friendship.
To the bells of friendship.
Bells of friendship.
Sarah Simon, Stu Lawrence, Michael Politz, I'm Mrs. Spices. This is F&B Live. We'll be back again next week. This has been a lot of fun. Michael, wrap it up, baby.
I'm wrapping it up. Thank you for joining us. We will see you, I don't even know when, a few days? Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It will. Yes.